Hello, my lovely ladies, and welcome to the Menopause Made Menopause Made Easy podcast with Tanya. Today, I have a very special guest, Allison, who is a menopause specialist coach and a hypnosis practitioner and a licensed menopause champion with the Menopause Expert Group. And Allison works one-on-one with the ladies and also at wellness centers conducting menopause mindset and movement workshops to educate and empower us so that we can lead more vibrant lives in the second to third chapter of our lives. Because as many of you know, we spend a lot of time in this space. It's not really talked about a lot, and we are bringing attention to this. And it's only going to heat up. I'm telling you, it's going to heat up over the years. Just watch what's going to happen. So welcome, Allison, to the Menopause Made Easy podcast. I'm very happy to have you here today. And let me just ask you a question to get you going here. We're going to jump right in.
Okay.
I would like to roll here. So I reached out to you because I am more on the prevention side. So if people have something that they feel, that's great. We can address it. And we're going to talk about that. But I really like the hypnosis, the lifestyle changes, and I want to give women power. I want to empower them and educate them that they have so much control over their destiny, over their health destiny. So how can hypnosis and coaching, because you're doing some coaching during hypnosis, and I do the coaching part as well, benefit the menopausal journey? How is what you do beneficial to our ladies?
Oh, wow. So hypnosis is a wonderful modality that I married very well with the coaching. So what hypnosis is a state of mind that we go in every single day. First of all, so people understand, like as we're heading into a sleep mode, there's that sort of that just as you're hovering before sleep, that's a hypnosis state. And it's the most beautiful state to be able to rewire limiting beliefs and to really encourage positivity and confidence. And that is really what I use my hypnosis for, is that I work with the women and we whittle down, okay, where are we stuck? Right? In menopause especially, it's like where are you sitting in menopause and where do you want to be? And what menopause hypnosis is going to do is we get to go into the subconscious mind, and it's unique to each individual. And we're just going to remap their thought process. So if it's confidence, then we're going to work on confidence and then plant those really beautiful seeds in the subconscious mind. So as they grow into the conscious mind, and it can be used for so many, like not just like self-confidence and body image. You can actually work with hot flashes and sort of the actual physical symptoms on how to manage them better. I cannot make them go away, but I can help someone sort of get into that, oh, this is what's happening. How can I get my mind calm to get through it, ride it out, and come out the other end without it causing an anxious reaction, which I think a lot of us do. We get into this anxious reaction whenever things are changing and we're feeling the physicalness of it. I help women through menopause accept where they are and that the journey ahead of them is going to be wonderful, as long as we have these tools to help us just kind of relax that mind, get into a better mindset. And let's replant the limiting beliefs that's been planted in our brain for the first, like you were saying, I don't know if it's half of our life, but
it's a large portion of our life.
A large portion of our life, we've been fed a lot of information. And my job is to sort of let's rewire your thought process to make menopause a more beautiful and accepting journey that we can all do together. And it's a fantastic way to just also relax and help people sleep.
Yes. So so I know before going to bed and getting up in the morning, right?
Yeah.
We're in the two most awakened or subconscious states, let's just call it.
Yes.
So this is why you hear many people say, like, before you go to bed, really think about what you want to bring into your life. And when you wake up in the morning, again, be grateful, have a practice of gratitude. Yeah. Instead of going to bed thinking about all the things you didn't do the day or, just the negativity. And then you wake up and you just start going, oh my God, I got to do this today. I got to do this today. Being aware of your thoughts before you go to bed. and when you wake up. Now, to say this though, is that they don't have to be doing this with you before bed and when they wake up. You can do this any part of your day, because you can learn to tap into your subconscious being. Like, you can teach people to do it so that they can do it on their own, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what's beautiful is when I do work with my clients is I always provide them with the end result. Here's the recording for this week. Use it while you're going to bed. Because sometimes saying and doing are two very different things.
Yes.
Like telling someone, this is what you should do. But having that pre-recording, there it is. I'm going to help you get to that zone a little bit faster at bedtime. And they're going to listen to what I am saying. And it's going to sort of like start the wheels turning. And exactly that. So when they do wake up in the next day, and if they did it every single night, they're going to see a shift pretty fast in how, and also being able to tap into it quicker. Because the more you go into that, like you said, training your mind in that mindset and in a hypnosis state, you can go in it pretty fast and switch your thoughts. As long it's a practice. It's like anything else. Practice, practice, practice.
Practice, practice, practice. Exactly. Now, what are some of our outdated beliefs? What do you find a lot of beliefs that come up that are outdated, are out of alignment with the women that you're working with?
I really have a hard time with the anti-aging and it really dictating to women. And we've been fed a lot of this. I really have a hard time. Like, that is an outdated thought process to me. Is, you know, that whole idea of anti-aging, like buy this cream, do this, even when it comes to like in the wellness fitness world, which we both are in, it's a beautiful place to be healthy. It's to switch stop trying to be 20 when you're 52, you know? And it's that, to me, that is such, that needs to be changed. And that to me is a very outdated mindset. Like, let's age well and healthy, and let's put a positive spin. Another thing outdated, I think, is the whole negativity behind menopause. We're constantly being told how terrible it is.
Yeah.
So even before we get there, and then when we get there, we start to really sink into, oh, this is terrible, right? This is going to be awful. And we already have a pre-recording in our head that this part of our life, everything's over. We don't have a voice anymore. We're not attractive to people anymore. And it's such a negative thing going into it, that's another belief system that I'm like, no, we need to also, I think, start talking to the younger ladies, not just the ones in it at this point, but sort of get them to shift their mindset before they even get here, to say, getting older is a blessing, everyone.
Yes,
It's not,
right? The
right?
alternative is not so great.
And yeah, the alternative is terrible.
Right.
And you think to yourself, and to be able to do it with a confidence and knowledge, and the fact of really embracing, like, yes, things are changing and that's okay. You know, we went through puberty and everything changed, and we're just doing it all over again, and we're evolving. And it's to accept that we've earned all of this. Like, we've earned the wrinkles and the crinkles, and we've earned the wisdom and the knowledge. And I really would love to get rid of those really old, outdated ideas that we have to stay young.
Yeah. So you know what? I'm actually going to read you part of a message that somebody sent me, because this really hits home on just that struggle that we're talking about with aging. Because I had so when you go through puberty, for example, you can have skin changes, right? You have acne, and this can show up again in menopause. Not for everybody, but it's a sign or a symptom for some people. But we're older, and maybe listen, I'm sure going through puberty, it's not fun to go through the skin changes. But the lady who texted me or emailed me this said, I look like hell. I'm embarrassed of my face. She was working on detoxing herself, and she ended up having some spots come up on her face. It made my wrinkles around my mouth worse. I'm frustrated because people out there are using injections and fillers, and it's making them look so beautiful and perfect. And I'm trying to look beautiful and perfect, but it's not happening for me. right? And so she's saying this to me, and I said, let it out, let all those feelings out, because we don't want to hold them, because what we suppress can show up in a physical symptom as well, right? And then I said, I think you are beautiful, and I personally don't use any fillers or anything on my face, and I said, if you want to go use the fillers, go right ahead, but don't think for 1 second that you aren't beautiful inside and out. And I said to her, do you think I am beautiful without anything? Because I don't have eyelashes, I don't have lips, I don't have injections. And I said, look at people who choose to age naturally, right? Tap into your essence. And anyway, and I said to her, remember, what you focus on expands. And I said to her, reread your message so that you can get the deeper understanding of what's going on. Because these are her thought loops, and she's looking at people differently than I'm looking at people. And she's looking at herself differently than I'm even looking at her. So it is interesting. So she came back to me with some really interesting reflection, which is what you were just talking about, like how I say you need to look at yourself like you're watching a movie, and you need to get in touch with what you are thinking about, because what you think about is how you are seeing things. And so when we just talked about some of these outdated beliefs, and the fact that, yes, I have more wrinkles. Yes, I may have some aging spots. And yes, some people may feel that they need to deal with those to feel better about themselves. I personally don't have an issue with it, but everybody's different. But I love how you just said that message that we're being fed, and we want to change that to, yes, getting older is okay. And it's you are wiser. You have such wisdom, which is what I just said. But again, just that rewiring of the mindset work you're doing. So do you get some women, do you find that women look at themselves externally a lot, or is it internal?
External, absolutely. And that is where I thrive in the hypnosis area, because to me, that's exactly where I want to be. I want them to see themselves as the people who love them the most sees them. Right? It's the look at the lens. You're looking at it from, like you said, everything that's been fed to us and continues to be fed to us. Even when you Google menopause support, first thing that comes up is an anti-aging product of some sort, or how to lose weight fast. And it's such a bad message, where I'm like, I want women to start to step back and go, one, you bring so much more to the table now. You've earned this wisdom. You have life behind you, and you have so much to share. You're bringing a lot to the table. I want them to start to see themselves in the mirror the way I see them, or the people they love the most sees them. I even try to do that message with my own daughters, to say, like, if you only could see when they get down, because I mean, they're young adults. It's if you only saw yourself the way I see you. Like, put the filter on whatever your best friend or your parent or your spouse or your partner, how do they see you? You might be able to see yourself a little bit differently, because the reflection will look different. It's a different filter.
Yeah. And that's what I said to her. I said, I don't see what you see about yourself. Right. So that is it. So, okay, love it. And then the negative messages of menopause. Again, I think this is honestly a magnificent time, right? We may have some mental changes we're going through, some physical changes we're going through, but I am here, and that's why I wanted to have you on as a guest, because I read what your whole, message is about, is empowering and being vibrant, and how much we can let go of, and how much we can share with our gifts with the world. Like, how amazing is that, right? And so we have more confidence. We have just this message of stepping into this new being about ourselves. So yeah. So
not necessarily, not that I want to say not caring what other people think. There's a sort of fine line, but not allowing the outside noise to make our decisions for us anymore. It's, I know myself a lot better now than I did 30 years ago. And I know who I am and what I want, and I'm okay with that. And you are more confident in that way. And I love it. I agree. I love this coming into yourself and being empowered. And the more and more we get the message out of this is not a negative phase of our life. This is a time to be empowered and to give yourself a voice. It's a time, it really is a rebirth in a way, because
Mhm.
you get to, first of all, you get to let go of your menstrual cycle, and you get to be a completely different person now. Decisions are made differently. And so many women I find in our age group, they start to reinvent themselves and do things because they realize the road in front of them is a lot shorter now.
Yeah.
And am I liking who I am? Am I liking what I'm doing for a job? And if I don't do a change now and shift now, when will I do it? So either I accept where I am, or let's take the steps and move on. And I find that very empowering, because a lot of women will just shift. They're like, you know what? I'm done. Like,
Well, you're starting to see a lot of that. Like a lot of women are leaving the workforce, they're starting their own businesses, they're stepping into, who they are, and it's exciting.
it
And
is.
and I think one thing that I think is really important to share is, I left a job in my early 20s because it didn't suit my soul's purpose, and it was scary. And
Hmm.
fear and being scared is a sign you're doing the right thing. And I think what I've learned is, when I've been talking to people about anxiety or this fear that they're feeling, it is the same feeling in our body as excitement. And so
Yes.
you can just rewire, instead of saying, I feel anxious, say instead, I'm excited, right? Even though this may feel out of my comfort zone, I'm excited to see what the next step is. And just changing that language, right, rewires us, because when we think of the word anxious, we start to shrink back, we start to contract, we start to go into darkness. When we think of word excitement, it's joyful, and it just makes us want to see what the next step is, right? And I think
Yes.
it's really important to state that it can feel uncomfortable, and that's okay. You can be afraid, and that's okay.
Hmm.
Those
And I
are
think that's hard for most people. It's a human reaction, but it is learning that, well, wait a minute. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again, it's not expanding. You're not learning, you're not growing. That uncomfortable zone is where you actually grow and learn. And once you get past it, then you're comfortable again.
Yeah. And that's what's happening a lot of this. So I love your business name, Soulful Flow, because to me, that's you're living from your soul, right? And
Yes.
when you do get into alignment with your soul, you are in better flow. So it's very interesting. How can we take one step forward to this self-acceptance? So, I think about this one lady who reached out to me a few years ago, and she says, Tanya, I want to write. Okay, she wants
Mm-hmm.
to, but she said, I don't have any time. And to me, this is an excuse of like just a little bit of fear of
Yes.
what will this bring, or self-acceptance of, if I do this, what will people think of me,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
And so how can we, I said to her, just start writing on the toilet or talking to your phone. That's how I started writing my book. I said, you just take stolen moments and do it then. But the fear for her is what's stopping her, or that self-acceptance of stepping in. What's one step that somebody can take just to move a little bit closer to having some self-acceptance?
Self-acceptance, I think it's a matter of, I think you need to take some inventory.
Okay.
Take time. And I love your moments. It's like whenever you have a moment, even if it is going to the bathroom, but it's those moments, and really start to take inventory on where you are and what you want. Even, you have that 5-year mark that everyone looks at. I said, I think it should just be done in small bites,
Mm-hmm.
very small bites. Take inventory where you are and how you're feeling about yourself, and really think about, okay, this is where I'm at and this is how I'm feeling. I would like to feel this, whatever it may be, more confident. more accepting of what's happening in, you know, and give it maybe a 6 month, even a 3 month. And how can I get there? Well, what's the most logical best step? You really got to understand your core values,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have to kind of really reflect on where I'm at now and what do I value the most in life? What is my core values? And once you know your core values, or you really sink into a core value, you can go, okay, so if I want to feel more joy in my life in the next 3 months, and one of my core values is family and community, then let's see what's the next logical step. And it's usually very simple, right? The next logical step is I'm going to make more time. And more time means I am going to reach out to a friend once a week and see how they're doing. I'm going to check into, I'm going to do something with my family. I'm going to reinvent, even if it's every 2 weeks, I'm going to have a family dinner. Those little things, when you start to take small bites and you're stepping a little bit closer into where you want to be, and then you start to be able to accept where you are.
You know what? That's my whole philosophy. Well, one of my philosophies is small shifts done consistently over time.
Yes.
So what I hear you saying, I cannot speak today. What I hear you saying is that self-acceptance just starts with looking at your core values, right? And then doing some self-inventory about where you are and where you want to go. And I would even add into that when you were talking about, because I just think of this woman who wanted to write, is to let go of the outcome of the writing and be in the joy of the writing.
Absolutely. Enjoy
Right?
the journey of it.
Enjoy the journey. That's a tagline on my book, Cookie Dough in the Dark. Enjoy the journey. Or embrace the journey. But I think a lot of the times what I've had to learn about myself is letting go of the outcome and enjoy the journey, and time and everything else will take care of it. And I'm really hearing in this menopausal space of bringing more joy and ease into our life. Joy and ease, and that gives you that self-acceptance, because I just know, and I would love to touch upon this emotional component. I had an eating disorder for many years, and I berated myself. It was always punishment, right? It was never good enough. And then, like I've said in many of my, talkings and stuff, is that in my early 30s, I said enough, or it was probably mid 30s, and I just let go. And I said, I'm going to embrace this journey. And it completely changed my outlook on everything, right? And I just started to find the fun in it and let go of the outcome. So that is, I think, what you said, that self-acceptance, that self-love, that little next step that you can take to fully embrace it. And do you find a lot of women feel they don't deserve that?
Yes.
And what reason do they give for that?
I think a lot of women have this idea that there's still, I do also find, I don't know about you, but being in this age group, they're still dealing with teenagers or young adults in their home, older parents, and we're still in that very nurture stage. And we have it in our head. I do think, because I am a mom, that the moment you become a mother, you are now outside of yourself. Everything is children first, and that you set your mind to be like, I will give to others first before I shall receive. Women have a hard time receiving, and that's usually where they're saying, well, I'm still doing this. I will take care of myself later when my kids are gone or when they're on their own and they're doing their thing. And it's sort of like, but as we get older, it's like if we don't take care of ourselves and give ourselves some grace, then we're not going to be in a healthy state when we get there. And I do find the excuse is usually it is time. It's I'm too busy. And it really comes down to they don't feel deserving of it because they've probably been in a very nurturing state of mind since the day they gave birth, and it's not in their wheelhouse anymore. It's been sort of put on the back burner for so long, they don't know how to bring it forward. And a lot of times I hear as well, isn't that selfish of me? It's like, well, no. It is not selfish of you to to want to invest in yourself. It's not selfish of you to put yourself first, because if you don't put yourself first, how are you supposed to take care of everyone else?
Yeah.
And you do deserve it, to me. And there's so many times you think, well, there's so many people out there who just do things and they don't even think if they're deserving of not. Like, why is the word, do I deserve it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that word.
Yeah,
Like, I deserve this. Well, okay.
I think that's if we go back to the outdated beliefs, I think that is a belief that we inherently believe we are not worthy. We inherently believe we don't deserve to put ourselves first. And that is one that I've unwound over the years, because it's exactly what you say. And what I say to people, if you don't look after yourself, you don't have the energy and the capacity to look after others.
No, and it will blow up. You will end up sick. It's like, if you do not take care of yourself, powers that be will take care of it for you. And if you need to make sure that if you want to thrive in menopause, you want to thrive beyond into your senior years, you need to do what you need to do now and get that mindset sort of cleaned up. Scrub away. That's the hypnosis. We scrub away.
Yes. And it's
We do
not
a good brain clean.
I say to people, it's not a one and done. This is a process. So I love how you said at the beginning, a tool, a skill. You used one of those words, because what you and I are teaching women is that, and I love too that you're trying to break down the diet culture and stuff like that, is that we are not a number on a scale. We are not a certain size. Our objective is to be vibrant and energetic and healthy and at ease instead of in dis-ease, right?
Mm-hmm.
Be expansive instead of contracted, and feel light and energetic as opposed to clamped in and dark. And so when we have changed this language within us, I've totally lost my train of thought here, but it'll come back. We begin to, oh goodness, no, thought just left. That's okay. That happens.
Menopause.
That happens. I had just something going on, and then that just left me. Okay. So, receiving. So one of the things that I'm working on with the women in my coaching is the ability to receive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Which goes back to that self-worth, that deservingness. What in your life, can you give an example of, have you been working on that? Have you always had that? What kind of did you have to do to yourself to open yourself up to receive more?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, I love coachy questions. No, I have not been good at receiving. I mean, I understand the concept and I work with women for it on my own. It's funny, again, practicing what you preach can be challenging. And this is why I have a coach myself, because it has definitely been a uphill climb to learn how to receive. I'm getting better at it, because again, I also think it has to do with, as I'm getting older and the noise in the background that you constantly were hearing gets a little bit less noisy, and I can hear my own thoughts now. I'm more able to go, okay, no, I deserve to receive something. But again, the word deserve, and then I have a hard time. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I do sometimes have a hard time. And again, I have to switch my mindset, and I practice obviously mindfulness, and then I get into that state and it's like, okay, nope, where are we stuck? And let's sink into it. Use the tools you have. Recognize that this is a limiting belief, and right, it's a limiting belief to not be able to receive.
Mm-hmm.
And to give and give and give and give. And I think we as women, specifically, I guess I go back to the mother, is that we are so into that giving is an identity.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes part of our identity that receiving is very foreign to us.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, I still work on that. And I again, it's practice. I coach, but I also have a coach. And when I do fall into those niggling moments of trying to receive and I'm stuck, because then everything gets stuck, I reach out and I do that. talk to my coach. So again, it's having people in your corner would be another advice to your listeners. It's like building your team, building your community, building that circle that you can just go, okay, it's learning. I recognize I have a block here in receiving. I'm gonna call in Tanya because I need to have a little powwow and we need to work through this. We need to chew away at where it's really sitting. And that would be advice I would say to your clients and people listening, to say, listen, even us coaches get stuck in receiving. And it's a coachable moment. It is you can meditation and mindsets, and also looking around and seeing others, almost like watching others receive and maybe taking that energy in, right? Like, I do believe the energy you give and you take, like there's this energy amongst us that when you're watching the joy of when you're giving and you watch the joy of others receiving, maybe sink into the receiving part yourself. Like that moment, and I have this moment thinking about even at Christmas, like when you're so excited to give somebody something and their reaction and the energy, and you take it in. So you get the thrill of the giving, but maybe also now look and go, I'm going to take in the receiving piece and maybe let that sink in.
Yeah.
And go, ooh, that's a nice feeling too.
Yeah. So that got back to what I was talking about when I lost my tangent, is the skills and the tools.
Yeah.
Right. And so what we're providing is there's not one way to do something. There's a variety of ways, and we're filling our toolbox because we can't build a whole house with a hammer. Right.
Oh, I love that. That's
Yes.
wonderful. Yeah.
Screwdriver and a wrench and a saw. Right. And so that's all we're doing with this menopausal toolbox, is that we bring in hypnosis, we bring in coaching, we bring in different kinds of movement. We have a balanced menopausal plate. We work on our mindset. We work on receiving, and we just try these on and just notice how we're feeling. I love the thing that you talked about with team as well, because we're really shifting in this space to work with a variety of people. Like, it's not just one person. It's not one person. They may go to you for hypnosis. They may come to me for nutrition and exercise. It's gathering a team around you and building your community, because we used to live more in community and we've become very isolated, and we are not isolated beings. We are community beings. And the beauty with the internet and this whole world that's opened up to us is that we can have lots of choice. That's good and bad, because then it might keep you in analysis by paralysis. But when you resonate with somebody and you feel maybe you're a little scared, but just do it anyway, and start to build your menopausal team. So that, when I was working with my client this morning, we were talking about blood work, like some blood tests that she should be getting. She doesn't know this stuff. She's in real estate. Okay. So I don't know what blood test to ask for. So that's where I come in. So it is building your team so that you can move through this field. And I honestly think, or this journey, I should say, the earlier you can start. So I always say, menopause can start as early as 35. I'm working with some ladies in their 20s who want to build a strong foundation. So there's not an age where you say, I'm going to ignore everything until I'm X. It's this building of this journey. It's these aha moments. It's the planting of the seeds that you mentioned earlier. So I love all of that. Now, if you could roll back the clock, so I read your little response here that you gave me. What do you wish, so this ties into my 20s and 30s and 40-year-olds, that you had known that would have better prepared you for where you are now?
I wish I would have known it's not just menopause, hot flashes, and belly fat. Right? That there is a huge shift in the mind and the emotional piece to it. That things like anxiety is a symptom, because then I would have been a little more ahead of it. because I, again, have been in the fitness and wellness field since my 30s. And even then we didn't know, right? It was very, oh, and also when it starts, like in itself, like what we knew is, oh, we thought it started at 50. Like we really did. It was like,
Yeah.
and that we thought it was like literally it's one and done. Like that's all I knew. It was like, yeah, menopause is when you get hot, you get belly fat, and it's around your 50s, and then your period stops. There was nothing. Until you kind of go, oh, there is a whole 10-year transition phase where things are changing and you're not quite sure what it is. And I think I would have done a better job if I would have just had the knowledge to say, no, this is a symptom. Anxiety is a symptom. Skin change, joint pain, like these things that you just fluffed off. And then I could have accepted it a lot faster.
Mm-hmm.
Right? To me, it's also learning more about menopause and having a positive spin on it. Like it really has been, like, even since Disney, like, come on, let's face it, the old crones, the old witches. You're thinking to yourself, they always were so angry. Right? So we had it since it's been fed to us that getting old is bad, staying young is good. And so I just wish it was a little bit more, if I would have just known it wasn't just about hot flashes and belly fat, and that it does start, like you said, as soon as in your mid to late 30s, I might have had a little more acceptance faster to get in front of some symptoms that I've endured.
Yeah.
And being proactive, right? That's what you and I think are in the same arena. Like, yeah, we can be reactive, but can we please be proactive?
Yeah, I definitely was blindsided. I have to say, in my 40s, looking back, especially my early 40s, a lot of like discontentment, a little anxiety, more night sweats. But I also realized I stopped lying to myself, and I found that some of my lifestyle habits were affecting those things. But there were also some things that, because my estrogen was going all over the place and my progesterone, that I didn't have the language, the skills, or the tools, and it was not talked about like it is now. So it was really like, what's the matter with me?
Yeah.
Right? And now you realize there's nothing the matter with you. Because your hormones are changing, here are 1 or 10 symptoms that you may feel out of about 50, right? And that, what can you do to support it as we move through? I just had a little blip in my internet, so I hope that all makes sense. And I was just listening to a doctor, and I love that doctors, like medical professionals, are standing up now and they're saying, we were not taught menopause
trained.
And what they called it was WW. So they would
whiny women.
Whiny women. Yeah, there's a woman out in the change room, or the change room. Can you tell I'm in the health and fitness space here? There's a woman out in the waiting room, and she says she has some joint pain and she's feeling a little anxious. You have a WW going on. And that is what they said. It's a whiny woman syndrome. So we're actually now realizing like all of the signs and symptoms that come along with this menopausal journey. So there's definitely way more light being put on this.
Oh, and it's only really been the past, what, I would say 5 years. And it's becoming, yeah, I love it. I think it's wonderful. I love that this side of the pond is catching up, because I do have to say the UK and Australia and New Zealand are way ahead of the game than we are. In North America, like, and it's lovely to see that it's starting to catch on fire on this side. But yeah, I do hope that what we're doing and the putting a voice to it is going to help the next generation coming through it. That theirs is a lot less uninformed. Like they'll come in with a little knowledge and confidence to say, oh yeah, this is just menopause.
Yeah.
Instead of, oh God, this is menopause. Oh no, it's just menopause. It's not a big deal.
Now, what do you see in the UK and Australia what shines for you that you're like, oh, that'll be exciting when it hits here? Because I mean, our world's getting much smaller, so it'll happen faster and faster. So what's one thing that you see?
I've seen more in the workplace. Like
Yeah.
it's being a lot more talked about, like where they're having policies put in place to support women to be more of an inclusive space. It's become way more it's like there's a light shining on it that women in a menopausal stage, instead of them leaving your corporation, leaving the organization, let's support them because they bring knowledge with them when they leave. And more people are talking about it. More and more corporations are becoming menopause approved, menopause friendly, and putting in place solid policies like we do when you think about 50 years ago, our parents versus us on maternity leave, right? Like it took a lot of talking and getting people to support that phase of a female's life. Well, then why would we not have the same for menopause? Because just making some small changes in the office and having an open dialogue will help women feel supported and be able to ride out some of the major symptoms you get and keep them on board. And it's all about retention. I've also seen more and more on that side of the pond, like even the knowledge in our world, like the fitness and wellness, is getting your staff menopause approved, getting them menopause knowledge. Because when you think about the age group that is going to join the gym,
Yeah.
right? But they are trying to train you like you're 25. Well, it doesn't work that way. And to have that knowledge and become more and more of our fitness and wellness spaces being friendly and making sure they're providing certain products and certain types of services that are really understanding to the difference from the fact that our estrogen is dropping. So it does affect our muscles and our joints. And we don't necessarily have the same results as you would when you're 25. And that gentleness and
Yeah.
training them that way. It's more in the UK now, and it's coming to this side. It's like they're a good 5 years ahead of us, I think.
Yeah, well, I just know through my teaching in my Vibrant Living Academy, I talk about a menopausal movement, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean we sit in a chair and do nothing, but it means, are you bringing in fascia work? Are you bringing in balance? Are you bringing in bone strengthening? Are you bringing in meditation? Are you bringing in weights to strengthen your muscles and your bones to keep your independence? And I call it functional fitness, Olympics and
Absolutely. Oh my God, you're talking to the girl. I love functional fitness. Give me
yes,
functional. It's like,
that's
do you want to be able to get up off the toilet?
yes, that's what
Then
I
you need
teach.
to make sure that you are muscle and strength and balance. You want to be able to put your dishes away from your dishwasher to where your cupboard is.
Yeah.
These are all, as well as putting the exactly, it's hips and joints. Like joint is such a big thing, hip openers, and understanding it's the small muscle tissues that require a lot of attention to keep everything moving and grooving.
Yeah. Right. And so that is very different because I'll have women saying, oh, Tanya, what you do isn't hard enough. And I
Oh,
get classes and we do heavy weights, but they're looking for a boot camp. And I'm like, if I were you, I would not join a boot camp. You haven't moved in a year. And they're like, no, I want to get this weight off. And they go to the boot camp, they hurt themselves, they injure themselves, they're out of the game for another 3 to 6 months. Now they're going to physio. And so again, it's this shift of be kind to your body. And I always say to people, why are you in a hurry? Why do you
mm-hmm.
need to get in shape tomorrow? Why can you not embrace the longevity? And instead of exercising for weight loss, exercise for function. And that's really
Oh, I agree 100%. Oh my gosh, you're like my spirit animal. I
yeah.
am all about the same thing. It's the fitness is a journey. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a destination. It is a complete, and it is exactly that. Like you need to focus on it to be also fun and enjoyable. Like the joy of moving your body. Do something that makes you feel good when you're moving it. And it's not to say that, yes, we know you need to do strength training. We know there's those pieces, but you know, man, like clamshells are important. They're boring,
Yeah.
but they do definitely support your hips. And, if you want to be able to do a proper weighted squat, you better make sure that those smaller muscles as well are being treated properly, or else you are going to be in physio and
Yeah.
you won't be able to move or function. And it's to highlight also the joy of movement. It should not be torture.
Yeah. And you know what? I also teach, like, you can have a time, like, you have to learn in your body a little bit of discomfort versus pain, because they're very different. It's a subtle difference. Discomfort is fine. Sharp stabbing pain, not
fine.
not your friend. So really, again, understanding that. And then the menopausal plate looks very different at 40, 50, and 60 than it did when you were a teenager and in your 20s. And so again, it's these subtle shifts that you just gradually lean into instead of, having some resistance. You just lean into it, you get curious, which is very expansive. And you begin to, there's the word flow, soulful flow, and leaning into, and this starts to reshape. And it's not like you're doing an overhaul in one day. You are just gradually, but you need to learn these tools, because as you become older, you become more sensitive to certain carbohydrates, most women. And so how can you work with your body as opposed to against it? And it doesn't mean you have to stop eating all the things you love. It just means you need to eat them maybe in a little bit of a different order, maybe a little different time of the day, just be a little more knowledgeable. So those are definitely some of the things I lean into. And yes, I love how you say here, what you would have done was start lifting more weights. And that is one thing I preach: get off the treadmill and start lifting, because your muscles and your joints will be much happier. So
because again, we didn't know that, or we weren't told that. It was always like, you see, and you still see it, people just grinding for an hour on a treadmill or an elliptical, or just cardio. And yes, cardio plays a role. Your heart is a muscle, but I definitely, the muscle, it's like lifting. There needs to be a different message behind muscle and balance training.
Perfect. Okay, so I love those. Now, one other thing that I just wanted to chat about was, I saw it on here and then it just appeared on me and it just created, talk about your freebie that you have for women, because I love your freebie that you're going to offer listeners today.
Absolutely. So, part of what I do is, and it's always the first step before we ever do any coaching session, is I offer a 90-minute menopause vision statements session. And in that 90 minutes, we whittle down, and again, we basically are getting down to your values, your core values, and how you want your menopause journey to look like. And we come up with a nice juicy statement. And then that way you have a blueprint, like something like, okay, if I want to live in this vision statement, I need to shift this, this, and this, right? And then from that point on, you can go to your menopause team and say, if nutrition is one of those things in that menopause statement, then you now know this is where I need to work on. It helps kind of, because a lot of us are all over the place.
Yeah.
So this 90-minute session for women is to basically say, let's do a vision statement, focusing strictly on your menopause journey, what you want it to look like. And then that way, when you see it and you feel it and you look at it and it's on a piece of paper, the next step is basically, now, how do I get there? And that's when you start reaching out to the people you need to reach out to make that vision come true.
Yeah, I love that, because I always say to people, if you don't have a strong foundation, it's very hard to build a solid house.
Yes.
And so many of us are picking out windows and our kitchen, and we're going for the shiny stars because we're like, oh, the foundational stuff, oh, who needs? But when you understand, like you said, your core values, when you build your plan, your blueprint, you now go, okay, I need to work on this for a movement. I need to work on this for nutrition. I need to work on this for mindset. And here we go. And you become very focused. And my word for this year has been intentional. You become intentional instead of feeling overwhelmed and confused and scattered and spinning and just like, where do I start? So it's really important to take that time to get, and that's what I do in my programs as well, is you must know where you are, where you want to go, and then you fill in the gaps in between.
Yeah, you have to know where you are before you figure out where you're going.
Exactly.
Right. And it's just, I love a vision statement that is very focused on just your menopause journey, because it really does put a highlight on, oh, okay, this is where I actually want. And also when they say it out loud, then the aha moment is, oh, okay, so my next step has to be this. If I want it, if community is part of my vision statement, then what steps are we going to take to highlight that community becomes part of your life a little bit more than it is now?
Yeah. And you know what? I just know from looking back at some of the things that I have gone through, when I've taken the time to step back and do the foundational work, everything speeds up. It's so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
And so really committing to that is wonderful. So that, I love that you're offering that to everybody. So let everybody know where they can find you, and any last words you would like to share with all of us today.
Oh, well, like I was saying to you today when we started, it's like I always tell people, just Google me.
Yes.
So you can Google Allison Prest and everything comes up there. But my actual business website is www.soulfulflow.ca. And it has all the information there. It'll have attachments to my LinkedIn, to my Facebook page, and to my blog as well, and how you can get in touch with me. So just go either Google Allison Prest or just go to my website. And any last words? I just want everyone who's listening to know that, one, you're not alone on the journey, and that to build a proper menopause team is really just a matter of figuring out where it is you need that support. So those core values, where you need the support, and then start asking and sharing and talking with others, and everyone will probably be so happy to help you and steer you in the right direction. And that if, let's say, like you were saying before, creating these teams where we're all beginning to work together, like you're coaching and I'm a coach in hypnosis, and I know, right, like we're all beginning to say, if I'm not a fit, I'm going to make sure I find a fit for you. So just ask and know that to build your team, there's a lot of us out there who want to help, and we're happy to have that conversation with you, and that you're not alone.
Perfect. I love it. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you, ladies, for listening to this. And as always, if this resonated with you today, please share this with your gal pals. Go on to Menopause Made Easy with Tanya podcast. Please like, share, subscribe. It really, I don't know how many people out there really understand how Facebook or social media, Instagram, all of those things work, but for small businesses like myself, they are not friendly to us at all. Unfortunately, you have to do a lot of work. You got to pay a lot of money just to get out there. So I appreciate your support of sharing this podcast. It will help Allison and I, connect with anybody who needs to hear these words today. So I thank you for your support, and I will see you in the next episode.